In my 3rd month of pregnancy, Marcus told me he'd dreamed about my best friend. He described the details to me and then smiled, even though it was just a dream. A belly that hasn't been pregnant is definitely flat. I knew what he meant. I had an abortion once, and he resented me for it. Later, I discovered it wasn't just a dream of his. I left him decisively, leaving behind only an abortion clinic receipt and the divorce papers. And then, later, Daniel went mad. Because he finally remembered that the child I aborted years ago was also his. In the first year after my depression improved, Marcus and I decided to have a child. During dinner, he suddenly put down his utensils and said, "Last night, I dreamed I was with Chloe." I froze. Chloe was my best friend. He then casually picked up a bite of green vegetable, as if what he'd just said had nothing to do with him. "And then?" I asked. He glanced at me, his voice flat. "What and then?" It was fine. I remained silent, picking up a napkin to wipe my mouth. He added, "Don't get me wrong, even though it was a dream, it felt incredibly real. Someone who hasn't been pregnant really is different." I lowered my head, pushing the last few bites on my plate to one side, and softly hummed in response. "Where couldn't see." My left leg was bruised purple from pinching. "Hey, don't be so serious. I'm just kidding with you." With that, Marcus flashed a smile. He reached out and ruffled my hair. Then he leaned in and kissed my left cheek. "I'll do the dishes. Sweetie, you go rest on the couch." It was as if nothing had just happened. He went to the kitchen as naturally as ever. But he forgot to lock his phone screen. Then I saw a notification popped up, from Chloe. "Coming tonight?" Just those 5 words made my heart clench. I thought my suspicions these past few days were likely correct. The sound of the running water in the kitchen was loud, and Marcus didn't hear it. I took a calm, deep breath. I pressed his phone screen off. When finished tidying up, he shook his hands dry and saw me sitting still on the couch. He came over and affectionately rubbed my head. The lingering scent of dish soap on his hands was pungent, and I was prone to morning sickness. He purposely used a lot of hand soap, trying to mask the smell from me. Marcus was always so considerate. It made me delude myself into believing he'd always loved me. "Sweetie, you should go to bed early tonight." After he said this to me, he placed his palm on my lower abdomen. "Did you hear that, little one? You need to make sure Mom goes to bed early." I remained expressionless, unable to offer any reply. He didn't notice my abnormality. He stood up, checked his watch, then grabbed his jacket from the hanger and said, "I'm heading out. I'll be back later." I felt my entire body stiffen and tense. But I still asked, "Are you going on an evening run with Ethan again?" "Yeah, the doctor said his blood sugar hasn't been under control lately, so I need to accompany him for a longer run." I clenched my palm, then released it. I nodded. "Go ahead. Take good care of her." As soon as the second sentence left my lips, a loud slam of the door was my only answer. He didn't even wait to hear me finish. How laughable. He was accompanying Ethan on an evening run. Ethan was Chloe's partner. As soon as Marcus left, I opened my chat app with Chloe. The first thing I saw was a string of laughing emojis from her, along with shared mundane daily events. She'd always had such a lively and carefree personality. Marcus had even complained to me multiple times, calling her childish. But now, these 2 people closest to me were together behind my back. I unconsciously bit my lip. I felt a dense, pricking pain with every breath. When did I start suspecting them? Coincidentally, I stumbled upon Chloe's secret social media account. She'd posted something. "What to do when you fall for your best friend's husband." The comments section flooded with people accusing her of attention-seeking. She fired back while vaguely explaining the situation. "My best friend says her husband gives her flowers every special occasion. Is it wrong for me to want a partner like that?" She also said her husband hasn't let her do any housework since she got pregnant. Help, I want a boyfriend like that too. Besides, he's tall and handsome, who could say no to that? At first, I didn't recognize it was Chloe. I just thought the account was completely unhinged. But when I clicked on her profile, and that photo flashed into my eyes, my blood ran cold instantly. The photo was blurry, only showing the man's upper body. A necklace hung on his collarbone, clearly engraved with a date, 3.19. It was my due date. My vision went black, and I rushed into the bathroom, vomiting endlessly. I don't remember how I scrolled through the rest of those posts. I vomited repeatedly until my abdomen cramped, then stood up, holding my stomach. I forced myself to calm down and took screenshots of all the evidence. Her title was explicit. Who gets it? My best friend's husband is really amazing in bed. At first, I didn't want to believe it. I tried to reassure myself it was just a coincidence. Marcus and I had been together for 5 years. He was a good man, loyal and devoted in front of others. He had no reason to do this to me. But it wasn't until today, with the topic Marcus brought up, that I finally realized. He was feeling guilty, testing my reaction and attitude. All of it was true. At midnight, Marcus still hadn't returned, and I received a call from him. "Sweetie, I won't be back tonight. Remember to warm up some milk for yourself." His voice was rough, and he was breathing heavily. I asked, "Are you still running?" He grunted softly, sounding like an affirmative. Then he quickly hung up. I silently opened the refrigerator, poured out the milk, and put it in the microwave. My legs felt as heavy as lead. But for some reason, my mind was unnervingly calm. A short while later, I received another call. This time, it was from Ethan. "Grace, Marcus is with me. He seems to have a muscle cramp. Don't worry." I was tired of the continuation of this lie. I said flatly, "Aren't you accompanying Chloe either?" He paused for a second, a hint of embarrassment in his voice. "Oh, right, I haven't spent time with her in a while either." "Grace, don't worry, I'll definitely return Marcus to you tomorrow morning." I was speechless. What a perfectly orchestrated play. Marcus had bribed Ethan, and Chloe and I were outwardly best friends. Ethan was afraid I'd catch him at Chloe's place someday. These past few days, he hadn't dared to spend the night at Chloe's. Those two indulged in pleasure all night, without a care in the world. Sharing a bed with Marcus for so many years, I hadn't realized he was a master manipulator. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Ethan, not understanding, was still trying his best to cover for Marcus. I was truly exhausted and cut him off. "Stop acting. Marcus is cheating." "No way, Grace, how could that be?" He was still protesting, so I immediately sent him the content from Chloe's secret social media account. Chloe's profile had many bedroom pictures. Anyone who knew her well would recognize them instantly. Ethan took a long time to respond, and finally, he sent me a long string of chat logs. "Thank you, Grace. I'm sorry too. The chat logs started a month ago. They were all between him and Marcus." I swiped through them one by one, my chest heaving uncontrollably. Even though I already knew everything, when the blatant evidence was laid out before me, I still couldn't control my emotions. I was indignant. I was furious. We had loved each other so much. Why did he just fall out of love so easily? Initially, Marcus hadn't told Ethan either. After it happened more often, Ethan finally asked, "Marcus, what's going on? You're not actually cheating, are you?" After a long pause, Marcus replied, "No. Ethan, you're still hiding it from me, your brother." "I get it, men are like that. I won't tell Grace." After a period of back and forth, Marcus finally couldn't keep up the pretense anymore. He confessed. Ethan was shocked. "Holy crap. She must be really something. Huh? Did's pregnancy make you unable to resist?" Marcus replied indifferently, "MHM. Ethan, more beautiful than Grace?" Apparently displeased with the question, Marcus became annoyed. "What's the use of being pretty? The parts that are dirty are still dirty." Ethan was stunned. "What? Dirty? She had an abortion, like a damn used car." My fingers stiffened. I couldn't scroll any further. My throat felt choked with cotton, dry and hard, making it impossible to breathe. I clutched my lower abdomen, lost in thought for a long time. He called me dirty. But the child I lost back then was also his. The light in the sky gradually climbed. It had been an entire night. I sat by the bed, staring at our wedding photos. For the whole night. At 2 o'clock, Marcus sent me a text message. For simple words, "Sweetie, I love you." The blanket on me was thick. But the cold, like a giant beast, slowly consumed me. I shivered uncontrollably. I fumbled around and pulled out medication from the drawer. To make myself feel a little warmer, I poured out 6 antidepressants instead of the required 3. The moment I swallowed them, I suddenly saw someone grabbing my hand tightly, then angrily ruffling my hair. "Grace, if you don't listen to the doctor's orders, I'm going to get angry." He put the extra 3 pills back, then brought me a glass of warm water, coaxing me to drink it. Then he hugged me. "Next time you take your medication, call me, okay?" This was Marcus 5 years ago. I nestled obediently in his arms and nodded. His embrace was warm, and his heartbeat was steady. It made me feel like I was slowly coming back to life. I had battled depression for years, and Marcus had slowly pulled me out of the abyss. He made me trust him wholeheartedly. He told me, "Don't be afraid. I'll always be able to hold your hand." These blurry memories flashed through my mind. I raised my hand and tipped the pills into my mouth. As the hard pills scraped down my throat, I finally saw clearly. This time, no one was holding me back. That had held a light that illuminated my world. But now he was leaving. So I had to quickly find my way out of the darkness. The medication brought on an intense drowsiness. I felt like I was falling into a cold ice chamber, yet I couldn't open my eyes. So my tears streamed out. I choked out uncontrollably, "Marcus, you lied. You didn't hold my hand tightly." The next day, awake, my emotions were much more stable thanks to the medication. Without waiting for Marcus to return, I went to the hospital alone. I was determined. I was going to have an abortion. In the hallway, I stroked my lower abdomen, complex emotions making me space out. Marcus had brought me to every prenatal appointment. He'd run around for me, diligently noting down every small detail the doctor mentioned. The skin of my belly under my palm felt warm. I still didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. I closed my eyes, trying to feel the faint heartbeat within. But soon, I realized. It was only 3 months, there was nothing yet. My love with Marcus was ethereal and fleeting. In the end, there wasn't even proof that we had loved each other. I used to think Marcus, like me, eagerly anticipated the birth of this child. But now, at least, I no longer did. The nurse called my name. I decisively stood up, taking the form to pay the bill. After paying, I heard someone call my name. "Grace?" I turned and saw a familiar figure. It was Marcus. Chloe was holding his arm, and quickly pulled her hand back. It was quite a surprise. But I nodded expressionlessly. "What a coincidence. Your prenatal appointment isn't until later. Why are you at the hospital? Is something wrong with the baby?" Marcus looked nervous and quickly strode over to steady me. And I noticed that the medication Chloe was holding was for private area injury. She was now walking with some difficulty. It seemed Marcus had been forced to stay the night yesterday. "Talk to me. What's going on?" I silently glanced at Marcus. If I hadn't already known everything, I might have actually believed he cared about me that much. He snatched the form from my hand. He scanned it quickly, then looked at me incredulously. "Grace, what do you mean by this?" I sneered coldly, snatched it back, and placed it clearly in front of him. "Is it that hard to understand? I'm having an abortion." I didn't intend to watch Marcus's reaction. I just turned and walked away. But he grabbed me unexpectedly. His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was hoarse. "Come back with me. We need to talk this through." I tried to pull my hand away, but he squeezed tighter. Chloe broke the deadlock. She timidly came over and tugged on Marcus's sleeve. Marcus ignored her. Then, her legs gave out, and she fell to the ground. The moment she cried out in pain, Marcus turned his head. Chloe looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Grace, don't misunderstand, I just ran into him on my way to the hospital. My lower abdomen hurts so much, I can't get up. Will you help me?" She was naturally sweet-looking. And when she bit her lip, her tears streaming down, looking utterly pitiful. Marcus was impatient to help her up. His body stiffened, but he still held back. He clenched his fists tightly. Before, I also thought Chloe was an innocent little girl who hadn't grown up yet. When she acted coy with me, I always indulged her. But now, I just found her act absolutely disgusting. I sneered, "Oh, can't get up? Then I'll come check tonight to see if you're still here." "Grace." Marcus suddenly tightened his grip on my wrist and reprimanded me. I stopped abruptly. Chloe whimpered in pain a few more times, and the surrounding crowd looked surprised, stopping to watch. Marcus's gaze darted back and forth. He gritted his teeth. "Grace, I'm really in a lot of pain. Can you let Marcus take me home first?" Before I could speak, Marcus had already scooped her up into his arms. Chloe, boneless and frail, curled up in his arms. Marcus gently reassured her, no need to ask her. "I'll take you back." I took a deep breath internally. It was hard to stay calm in this situation, but I had decided not to look back, and no one could interfere with that. As walked out of the hospital, I clutched my receipt and entered the operating room. Opening my eyes, bright white lights shone into my pupils. I touched my lower abdomen. The doctor told me to come back for a follow-up in a week. I asked, "Is the baby gone?" "Very successful, very clean." I nodded, propping myself up from the bed. A dull, dense ache spread to my chest. A dim, suffocating sensation washed over me from all sides. I fumbled in my pocket for medication and swallowed it. I could feel my depression relapsing since Marcus cheated. My world plunged back into vast stretches of gray. This silent suffering made life unbearable. I couldn't help but stubbornly try to grasp a lifeline. But who could it be? No one. Only after this incident did I realize that no one could be fully trusted. Not anyone else. My illness could only be cured by myself. So I had to save myself 1,000, 1,000,000 times over. When I returned, Marcus wasn't home. I packed all my belongings and moved out decisively. After sunset, I received a text message from Marcus. "Grace, where did you go?" "Emotional, pregnancy hormones, sweetie. We have a prenatal appointment in a few days." Sure enough, emotional, pregnancy hormones due to unstable pregnancy hormones. It made sense. After all, we had been together for years, and this was the child we had conceived with such difficulty. How could I possibly abort it without a word? But his plan didn't work out this time. His child was now truly just a blob of flesh. Seeing that I didn't reply, he sent a few more texts. "Chloe is your friend. If you're too emotional to handle her, I should at least help you manage the situation, right? I'll come find you. We can talk things through properly. Just tell me where you are." Sometimes I really wanted to ask him if he wasn't disgusted by saying such things. But I ignored him and called Ethan instead. I asked, "How are things?" His voice was very tired. "It's pretty much done. I've handed everything over to you." Soon, I received a folder. I opened it, and it was full of evidence of Chloe and Marcus's affair. Ethan's job was unique, so obtaining these things wasn't difficult. After a quick glance, I let out a small sigh of relief. I told Ethan, "Thank you." He asked me, "Are you really getting a divorce?" "Yes. What else would I do if not divorce? Wait for Marcus to have another child out of wedlock to disgust me?" Silence fell on his end. I vaguely realized I had also hit a nerve for him. I didn't plan to apologize. After all, he was also part of this lie. Ethan's tone shifted, and he suddenly said, if I had told him about what happened back then earlier, maybe none of this would have happened. What back then was he talking about? After thinking carefully, I understood. Once, I asked Marcus how he came to like me. He said, "When I saw you, I felt like you were a lot like me." I laughed, "You're warm and sunny, and I'm a depression patient. How could I be like you?" He ruffled my hair again. "Don't say such things, sweetie. I'll make you feel joy." But actually, it wasn't that I was like him. He was like me. Marcus and Ethan were college classmates. Back then, Marcus had bipolar disorder. Just like me, he was moody, erratic, and wished for death. I met him at a party. That day he had an episode. Marcus had locked himself in the storage room, punching the wall. I accidentally walked in and almost got my nose broken by his fist. He stopped, quieted down, and like a docile puppy with red-rimmed eyes, he apologized to me. After that, he started pursuing me relentlessly. He said I was the only person who could calm him down. So, Marcus thought we had been in love for 5 years. But that wasn't true. We had known each other for 10 years. It was just that later, his illness suddenly became uncontrollable, and his family pulled him out of school and took him abroad for treatment. During that time, he was in a frenzied state and developed bipolar disorder. I didn't know when he would return, I only knew I was carrying his child. Later, by a strange twist of fate, I saw Marcus again. By then, he had fully recovered, forgotten some of his memories, and didn't recognize me. He just said, "You're so beautiful. Can I pursue you?" My heart trembled, and I could barely speak clearly. "Why?" He scratched his head. "It's an old cliché, but I feel like you look very familiar." I said, "But I've carried someone else's child before." This was my way of testing him. His gaze darkened for a second, then brightened again. "That wasn't your fault." At the time, I thought his moment of silence was due to tangled memories. But reality wasn't a fairy tale. He truly did care that I'd had an abortion. How ironic. Now, I was only realizing it in hindsight. Our reunion was a mistake from the start. Ethan and I had never brought up that memory. We were both afraid Marcus would be triggered again and suffer a relapse. I told Ethan directly, even if you had told him, he would have found other excuses to cheat. The reasons were just Marcus's pretexts to alleviate his guilt. He and Chloe, one couldn't stand loneliness, and the other just happened to need someone. Betrayal is betrayal. There aren't so many ifs and what ifs. I would never blame myself. The next day, I woke up early. I was going to file for divorce from Marcus. My phone showed countless missed calls from him. It seemed like he had truly been looking for me all night. My heart remained unmoved. I clicked to call him back, but the call was suddenly interrupted by another incoming call. It was Chloe. "Grace, you didn't actually have an abortion last time, did you? I'm still waiting to be the godmother." I was utterly speechless. "Does it concern you?" "Of course it concerns me. Marcus is so good to you. If you upset him, I'd be heartbroken." Her tone was dripping with sarcasm. Finally, she said she wanted to meet me for a meal. I clenched my fists, then released them. I've never had much patience for traitors. But it was true, Chloe and I needed to talk. I rushed to the location she sent me. It was a chic, cozy cafe. There were only a few people scattered inside. The moment I walked in, I saw a familiar figure. "No, two?" Chloe smiled sweetly, gently kissing the man's cheek. In an instant, Marcus turned his head and saw me, but the smile hadn't left his lips. He frantically and hastily put distance between himself and Chloe. I raised an eyebrow. Before I could even figure out why Marcus was there, I saw Chloe suddenly well up with tears and pout her lips. "Grace, why are you here?" The emotion in Marcus's eyes surged instantly. He faced me, gritting his teeth. "Are you stalking me?" I realized Chloe was trying to make a scene and assert her ownership. I let out a mirthless laugh, looking at the two figures arrayed against me. I just felt it was absurd and pathetic. I had known Chloe longer than I had known Marcus. After we started dating, I never ignored her feelings either. In fact, she was always pestering me for updates on my relationship. In front of best friends, others might loudly complain about their boyfriend's flaws, but was truly good. So, every time, I just smiled and brushed it off. Chloe pouted. "No way. Is he really that good a partner?" At the time, I didn't notice the hidden jealousy in her tone. After all, she was my friend. Marcus and Chloe always held equal weight on my scale of importance, making me occasionally worry if I wasn't allocating enough time to one of them. But I had never imagined that they would one day stand together and declare war on me. I felt a dull, pressing pain at the back of my neck. It was a premonition of my illness acting up. I couldn't control the strength draining from my body, and my vision blurred. Marcus's gaze quickly fell to my lower abdomen. His body stiffened. Gone was his composure from moments before. "Grace, our child." I forced myself to stabilize my emotions. Amidst distraught expression, I pulled the divorce papers from my bag and slapped them onto the table. The baby was aborted. I took a deep breath, enunciating each word. And now, let's get a divorce. I saw Chloe's eyes widen with delight, and a satisfied smirk played on her lips. Marcus's face darkened. He twisted my wrist and dragged me out the door. He shoved me into the car and leaned over me. Grace, what exactly do you want? His expression was extremely impatient. He was angry, suppressing his rage. But what was he angry about? Angry that I aborted the baby? Angry that I was divorcing him? Then he was truly despicable. I refused to back down. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. At this point, I didn't think there was any civility left to discuss. Was I not clear enough? I want a divorce. I immediately pulled up the files. Videos, audio recordings, chat logs. Item by item, piece by piece. All laid out before him. Marcus's pupils dilated, and he gradually lost his composure. He tried to snatch my phone. I smiled faintly. What's wrong? Too cowardly to face what you did? Or did you think I didn't have backups? His eyes suddenly turned red, and the hand gripping my shoulder tightened relentlessly. No, Grace, let me explain. Please, let me explain. It had been a long time since I'd seen Marcus lose his composure. In this moment, I felt as if I truly saw him from 10 years ago. Back then, with his wet eyes, under the pressure of his bipolar mood, he anxiously squeezed my hand, begging me not to leave. Like a pathetic puppy. But now, the puppy had grown up. It could bite, and it could be despicable. And I didn't want him anymore. I slowly pried his fingers off my hand, put a pen in his grip, and said coldly, "Sign it. Let's not even talk about an amicable separation. Your explanations would only disgust me further." The words seemed to sting him. Marcus suddenly froze. He stared blankly at the evidence on my phone. After a long pause, he unexpectedly began to laugh, his shoulders shaking. He grabbed the divorce papers and signed his name, saying, "Grace, what exactly are you being so arrogant about? You're like a damn used car. Do you really think I care that much?" With that, he opened the car door, wrapped his arm around Chloe, and pulled her out of the cafe. He made a come-in gesture towards me. "What? I'm taking her home for the night. Do you want to watch?" Marcus really agreed to the divorce? I threw myself onto the bed and replied indifferently to the person on the phone. Yes, it went very smoothly. Ethan sighed. "Grace, you're really so decisive." I murmured a muffled and unconsciously drifted into sleep. One of the physical symptoms of depression was hypersomnia. Detaching myself from a relationship of nearly 10 years wasn't easy. My condition fluctuated. But these days, whenever I had free time, I would go for walks in the park. Exposure to sunlight helped alleviate my condition considerably. I had vowed to save myself. And I would never allow myself to sink. When my episodes were severe, like Marcus once did, I would lock myself in the bathroom, cutting off all sources of danger, repeatedly telling myself, "Time objectively passes, everything will get better. Everything will get better." I silently repeated this phrase and dreamed of a bright, radiant, sunny day. Warm light enveloped me. The darkness was gone for good. I pulled the blanket tighter. I thought I truly was getting better. But I still had one last step to take. I arranged to meet Marcus to pick up the finalized divorce papers. He agreed almost without hesitation. He drove over. I asked him for the car keys. He looked utterly confused. I said, "You didn't read the divorce papers, did you? This car belongs to me." He froze instantly. I continued, "And that house also belongs to me. Of course, you can fight it, but you know I have all the evidence." I saw Marcus clench his fists. He pressed his jaw, nodding as if admitting defeat. "Fine. You're quite resourceful." I didn't bother to say more to him. We remained silent all the way until we entered the hall to get a number. The atmosphere was somewhat heavy. I secretly took out medication from my bag and poured it into my palm. Marcus recognized it immediately. He paused. "When did you relapse?" I didn't answer directly, instead saying, "Do you know how my depression started?" "You told me. It was during graduation, too much stress." I shook my head. At that moment, the staff called our number to pick up the certificate. As I stood up, I told him, it's because, a long time ago, I knew someone with bipolar disorder. Marcus frowned deeply, and then? Then, he became my boyfriend, and I tried everything to help him recover. So, I taught myself psychology, poring over books about mental disorders everywhere. Whether they were academic texts or popular articles, anything I could find, I read. I tried to understand the psychological world of mental health patients. I wanted to enter Marcus's inner world. But the consequence was that, without realizing it, I became more and more deeply entrenched. By the time I realized, I was already deeply mired in the conflict, unable to pull myself away. But thankfully, Marcus was still by my side. He was truly well-behaved. As long as I was there, he was compliant. Our relationship was stable, we were about to get engaged, and I naturally became pregnant. What happened next? Marcus asked. At the same time, the staff handed us the finalized divorce papers. Later, during my senior year, he left and never came back. I became completely ill. We stepped over the threshold. Marcus stared intently at me, his brow furrowed. His pupils trembled repeatedly, and an unusually unsettled emotion welled up. He asked one last question, did he really never come back? I smiled, and said, then I'll tell you. Later he came back, said he wanted to pursue me. I told him I'd had an abortion, but he didn't remember it was his child. Marcus froze in place. I exhaled deeply. This story ends here. Whether he could remember or not, my 10 years with Marcus were over. I didn't look back at the person behind me. I opened the car door and sped away. The freshly acquired finalized divorce papers lay on the passenger seat, as if proclaiming my new beginning. I finally felt a tremendous sense of satisfaction. I changed the locks on my house. I waited a few days, but Marcus didn't say anything about coming back for his belongings. I simply packed everything up and dropped it all off at Ethan's place. And I contacted a lawyer, just in case. In case Marcus decided to sue for property division, I needed to be prepared. During my follow-up at the hospital, my attending physician said my condition was well under control. He was somewhat incredulous. Patients who relapse usually do so after a trigger, and it's typically harder for them to recover than before. How did you manage it? After a brief thought, I smiled openly. Perhaps it's simply by distancing myself from people and relationships that drain me? Since my relationship with Marcus had fractured, I might as well shatter it completely. No one was willing to give me light. Then I would be creating my own light. It was difficult, but I had no other choice. My life finally got back on track. Just when I thought I would never cross paths with Marcus again, Chloe showed up at my door. Her eyes were bloodshot. The moment she saw me, she raised her hand, but I blocked it in time. Grace, you bitch. What did you do to Marcus? I frowned and forcefully shook her hand away. I've already divorced him. What could I possibly do to him? Then why did he block all my contact information? This surprised me a little. I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh? I was with him for 5 years, and you two have only been together for half a month, and he's already tired of you? Chloe instantly let out a scream. I had no intention of arguing with her. The man she coveted was nothing but trash to me. I let out a soft, dismissive snort and prepared to close the door. Ethan suddenly sent me a text message. Grace, Marcus has been hospitalized. I didn't want to tell you, but he's been begging me every day, and I'm so annoyed I couldn't help it. Chloe instantly snatched my phone. Her eyes widened, and her breathing became rapid. The sender sent a location, and Chloe immediately bolted out. I thought about it. After all, Ethan had helped me gather the evidence of Marcus's infidelity. I decided to go and see for myself. As I reached the door of the hospital room, I saw Chloe already there through the window. Immediately, I pushed the door open. How many times have I told you to get out? Marcus roared at Chloe, and tears instantly welled up in her eyes. She indignantly tried to grab Marcus's clothes, but pushed her away again and again. I cleared my throat, and only then did Marcus notice someone standing at the door. He had completely changed. He looked nothing like his vibrant self from just a few days ago. His hair was disheveled, and dark circles were under his eyes. Now, He just stared at me blankly, forgetting to move. When he snapped back to reality, he suddenly shoved Chloe. His eyes were red-rimmed. "Grace, there's nothing going on between us, nothing at all." I quirked a sarcastic smile. "Marcus." I had barely started when he eagerly cut me off. He said, "I remember everything now. The doctor said my bipolar disorder has relapsed. Grace, please don't leave me, I won't be able to live. We can still have children in the future. Can you please forgive me, just this once?" His gaze was pleading. Like that puppy years ago, begging me for a head scratch. That's how I stayed by his side, day after day. But now, I laughed, a bitter, sarcastic laugh. Why should I? It's you who can't live without me, not the other way around. Don't even talk about just this once. Even if it happens 2 or 3 more times, it has nothing to do with me. Just because the child I aborted back then was also yours, you regret it now? But did I only recently tell you I was pregnant? No, Marcus. You were never sincere from the start. You make me absolutely sick. Let's just end this here. I tore apart the last shred of fantasy between Marcus and me. His illness back then was already very serious. If he couldn't overcome it, he would likely end his life in a hospital bed. Chloe clung to him daily, baffled by Marcus's sudden change. She desperately wanted an answer. The consequence was that Marcus's condition progressed into bipolar disorder. One time, he fell into a coma, nearing a state of frenzy. The hospital called his parents only when they needed someone to sign critical condition notices. This secret could no longer be kept. His parents rushed over, arriving just as Marcus was recovering consciousness after resuscitation. The next second, Chloe rushed forward. She shrieked loudly, "Marcus, talk to me. Didn't you say I was the most special girl you'd ever met? Why don't you love me? Why don't you love me?" Then, right before their eyes, Marcus's hands twitched, and he passed out again. Chloe couldn't escape the blame. Marcus's parents directly sued her, demanding she pay for his subsequent medical expenses. Chloe couldn't afford it. I have no idea what was going through her empty head, but she actually showed up at my door. "Grace, don't think I don't know you took off with a huge chunk of his assets. Marcus is your ex-husband, and he's sick now, but you're not contributing a single cent. Have you no shame? Perhaps from crying so much." Chloe's once delicate and sweet face was now so swollen that her eyes were half hidden. It was somewhat ridiculous. Out of politeness, and a desire to see the drama unfold, I tossed her a napkin. "Now you remember Marcus is my ex-husband? You insisted on fighting me for him back then. Well, congratulations, he's yours now, and so are the medical bills. You should be thrilled." Chloe's gaze seemed to want to tear me to shreds. The next second, she suddenly raised her voice. "What do you have to be so proud of? Marcus is just sick. When he gets better, he'll still love me." She thought she could provoke me, but I only found her pitiful. I shook my head. "Chloe, you still don't understand. A man isn't better just because he's with someone else. Love is about mutual attraction. You can't steal it. I advise you to face reality soon." I don't know if she'll ever realize this, but I had done all I could. Later, Chloe couldn't pay the medical expenses. Marcus's parents pressured her into caring for Marcus, who was already confused and disoriented. This news left me speechless. Such an absurd solution could only come from Marcus's parents. They only knew Marcus was sick and needed money and care. But they never truly believed in mental illness. A spoiled child would be fine after a good beating. If that didn't work, then re-education. If the hospital said he was truly dying, then it was fate. This was the root cause of Marcus's illness. Never any understanding, only curses and blame. The outcome was obvious. Under care, Marcus grew more agitated by the day. His parents were furious and anxious. "We gave him money, we gave him care. Why isn't he getting better?" The doctor said it depended on the patient's mental state. So they shifted the pressure onto Chloe. No matter how much Chloe loved Marcus, this suffocating situation pushed her to the brink. She actually went to Ethan, begging him to help her. Ethan had long moved on from his previous relationship and found a new girlfriend. Chloe watched as both men walked away from her. She was resentful, and her hatred grew. She caused a scene with Ethan's current girlfriend, infuriating the girl so much that she also broke up with Ethan. Ethan confronted Chloe. That very night, they had a huge argument. In the dim light of night, Chloe ran screaming into the road and was instantly hit by an oncoming truck, dying on impact. There was no chance of survival. This farce seemed to escalate endlessly. But I had long since turned my back and immersed myself in my own life. I socialized more and made many new friends. When I first discovered Marcus's infidelity, I felt like my world had ended. Looking back now, those dark days were behind me, beyond reach. Yet, I had made it through. I suddenly felt a sense of accomplishment. For a long, long time, I hadn't thought about Marcus again. He was slowly fading from my memory. Until one day, Ethan contacted me. He said, "Marcus committed suicide. Are you going to the funeral?" That plain statement felt like a sledgehammer blow to my head. For a moment, I felt disoriented. It happened even faster than I had expected. What was past. I didn't go to Marcus's funeral. But the next day, I received a package. Inside was a USB drive. Marcus had left a recording for me. It was likely recorded when he was at his worst, his voice trembling throughout. But he was trying his best to maintain a gentle tone. "Grace, I'm dying." That was the first sentence. "Grace, I'm dying. Will you be happy? You probably will. After all, I did so many things to hurt you. Actually, I really wanted to say I'm sorry. But you wouldn't see me. And when you did see me, I couldn't say it. These past few days, I always felt like the room was very dark and something in the shadows was trying to take me away. At first, I was scared. But then I thought about the 2 children we lost. And I felt a little lighter. This is what I deserve. There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. If I hadn't left you back then, you wouldn't have gotten sick. And you wouldn't be experiencing the pain I am now. But I had no choice. I truly had no choice. Under my family's pressure, my emotional state worsened. I couldn't explain it clearly to them, so they put all the blame on you. The more I resisted and argued, the more they targeted you. They even made a scene at your school. I kept all this secret, but I knew that one day I wouldn't be able to hide it, and you would be hurt. So, my aunt and I went abroad for treatment. There, I thought about you, about our future together. Thinking about these things, my illness got better faster and faster. But how could I have known that in the end, I would actually forget you? If I had known this, I would rather have died by your side 5 years ago. Grace. Grace. I'm really dying now. I really can't go on. Will you be happy? I don't know, but thankfully, at this moment, you are no longer by my side. And you no longer love me. To speak of love, it would probably sicken you. So, be happy. Grace. He bit off the last syllable of the word, and the audio still showed a long progress bar. But after that, there was only endless silence. I wanted so badly to defend myself, but everything just felt so absurd and ridiculous. I even felt some regret, wondering why I had reached out to save a person like that all those years ago, even attempting to dedicate my life to him. One must always be responsible for oneself before being responsible for others. In the end, Marcus still hadn't understood that truth. Perhaps everything went wrong from the second time I reached out to him. But who was right and who was wrong no longer held any meaning. I dragged the recording to the recycle bin and clicked delete. The long night stretched on. Only I know my own feelings. If it were you, betrayed like this, would you give them a second chance? Leave your answer in the comments. Subscribe for more, the next twist will definitely shock you.